pregame chatter in the episode last week?
Because there wasn't anything good to put in there.
Okay.
It was all like, we're going to talk about this, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then that was pretty much it. I don't
Okay,
know.
true.
All right, so what's the time limit that you put for Aaron Hernandez?
I was just saying like 5 minutes for Aaron Hernandez. You agree with
Okay.
that, Brian?
Yeah. Not
All
much
right,
more
and
we
then-
can say other than
All right, do
anything
you
that
want me to
hasn't
put
already
it on
been
my
said.
phone?
Ethan, do you want to like just take the lead on the Hernandez thing?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I don't really
Yeah.
know much about it. I just know he got arrested and he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right, so let me
You didn't watch ESPN or anything yesterday?
No, I was in class all day yesterday.
I haven't
and in the
really been
library and all that.
I haven't really been following it that much, other than when we talk about it at work. But as soon as I found out he was convicted, I turned on ESPN yesterday, and they had some really good coverage.
Yeah.
That kind of got me more informed.
all right, hold on. I'm just looking for the alarm for when it hits the buzzer. There's no buzzer sound effect. That sucks. I'll just put chimes. No.
Yeah, don't put chimes.
No.
What are we, a front porch?
How's that? The signal.
I guess that's alright, I guess. I mean, we don't have to have a
Yeah, we
buzzer
don't-
to go
I
off.
just think it would be cool. All right, ready? All right, are you gonna do your open, Sean?
Yeah.
Sean's still going to do the
Shit,
open.
who are we closing with? I'm gonna open with Who Shot Ya by Biggie Smalls, and then
Oh, yeah. Whoever came up with that
every
idea is a
fucking week I
genius.
completely forget. I was gonna start out with the Grateful Dead, but it's not really. I was hoping it would be like really sunny and really nice out, like a summer day, but
What song were you going to
Nah.
play by the Dead?
dancing in the streets.
Oh, Brian,
Hell
what was your song that you suggested?
Who shot you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah, that's what
starting
I'm
with
gonna
that.
open with,
He's
and then
starting
we're
with
gonna go on to Hernandez. Alright,
that.
I'll
The
think of
answer
one,
to that
whatever.
question, by the way, is Aaron Hernandez. I'm just throwing that out there.
You shot Odin Lloyd and 3 other people.
Yes, as far as we know now.
Yeah.
As far as the U.S. legal system is concerned.
It was funny because after the sentencing, people on Twitter were like, over under on how long until Hernandez's first prison murder.
What? Oh my
It's
God.
messed up.
I mean, it happens. I wouldn't be surprised if he killed somebody.
Well, I mean, he
I
already
don't think-
has, so I guess it isn't that
I mean, like in
surprising.
prison.
Really? All
But,
right, true. Wasn't he involved in like some kind of riot or something last year?
Yeah, he got into an altercation in where he was being held during his trial, or while he waited for his trial. And they put him in solitary confinement, too.
Oh, yeah. That's hell. If Orange is the New Black has taught me anything, solitary confinement blows.
Well, that's what they're going to, or one of the options to put Dzhokhar Tsarnaev in the Supermax prison was to put him in solitary confinement for 23 hours, or 23 and a half hours of the day.
That's fair. I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know if either of you guys have watched Orange is the New Black, but
No.
it looks like hell.
What, jail? Or
Well,
prison or whatever?
solitary confinement in particular.
Oh.
I mean, there's nothing
Yeah,
worse than not having any human contact or seeing the light of day, like ever.
Yeah.
What would you do? Like, I
You
don't
would go
even know.
crazy.
It's
I
really
don't even
weird.
know what I would do.
You would go crazy.
Can't even like bring a book in there or something.
Yeah, I don't think you can. All right, let's get this show on the road.
All right, hold on.
Do
Give
it,
me
Sean.
1 second. I'm trying to find the bracket for the NHL playoffs.
I have it right here.
Yeah, but I'm trying to pull it up so I can see it.
Oh, let me pull up ESPN.com while we're at it.
Nope.
Um,
Not it.
Go to NHL.com, and you should
Yeah.
do the bracket challenge, Sean. It's actually pretty cool.
They locked
Bracket
it.
challenge.
Oh, they did? Damn it.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
locked it
it already
last
started.
night once the game started.
Oh, that sucks. I did
But,
it, but I did
I mean,
it, so
I
I'm
still
okay.
printed it out and just
Here
wrote
it
it
is.
down by hand.
Wait, did you enter the thing
What?
officially?
No, I thought I did, but apparently I didn't.
I
'Cause,
did.
like, I guess I didn't have the right password or something when I was trying to submit it.
I did. I'm pretty stoked about it.
Nice.
I-
I mean, that's some
I
pretty
want that-
surprising
I want
picks,
that trip to
especially in
Vegas.
the Western bracket.
I want that trip to Vegas so bad.
That would be awesome. You should bring us, Brian, if you win it.
Yeah, we'll do a live show from there if I win a trip to Vegas.
Hell yeah.
Live from
Happy, what's
Caesar's
up?
Palace.
3 bums talking about sports.
Exactly. We can try and we should interview. We should just see if we can find any NHL players that are in the area and see if
Wait,
we can interview.
is it during the NHL awards?
Yeah, that's where the NHL awards are. They're always in Vegas.
So that's when they would send you on the trip to Vegas?
Yeah, that's what the trip is. It's a trip
Oh,
to the
nice.
NHL award. It's that's the grand prize, I think, and I think they give away. You know how there's always that one grand prize, and then there are
Right.
other prizes that aren't as great. I think the backup prize is a Galaxy phone that I don't need, and and one of the ones is a car, and I don't know which car. It's probably a Honda because they sponsor everything in the league.
Yeah. And
I want that
they're
trip to
trying
Vegas.
Put a expansion franchise in Vegas. It's
Yeah.
some pretty cool names and logos. I saw them once, but I forget. And then they
The
have
Gamblers.
that are
The
just like,
Gamblers.
bleh.
The Las Vegas Gamblers.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Or the Las Vegas Enforcers. Double
That's also
entendre
good.
right there.
That's also good.
Oh, hell yes. Alright, we're going to end with Success by Jay-Z featuring Nas.
Okay,
Alright,
I
man.
approve.
All right.
But we should do an all dead show eventually.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
definitely.
by the way, this pregame banter is great this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is.
See, Sean, now you've got it.
Got what?
Some good
stuff to
pregame,
put in.
pre-show
Okay,
stuff. Yeah.
All right,
Ooh.
I'll start the clock when you're ready to go.
Alright.
Sean.
Give me 1 second.
Wait, can I use the bathroom before we get started? Sorry, I have to go.
Go.
All right, I'll be right back.
Oh my god.
Ethan, your laugh is ridiculous. Alright.
You ready for the big series this week, Sean?
What big series?
Red Sox, Orioles.
How was that this week?
Yeah, start tomorrow.
Orioles
And then
just
Monday. Patriots
Orioles
did.
just won the series against the Yanks.
Yeah, the Red Sox have won all three of the series.
Congrats,
All right,
dude.
ready?
Yeah. Brian, you ready?
Yeah, felt good to get that out of my system.
I'm just gonna leave that in there.
No, God damn it. Fuck you.
Pre-show bit. Hold on, can I take a piss real quick?
Oh, Brian, I love on the Fan Interference podcast. You were like, oh, didn't he have a pretty good season one year? And then I think it was Brian Neal was like, well, everyone can have a good season, rookie.
Yeah, that was Formica. That was funny. I just looked at him and I just like put my head in my hands. I was like, "Fuck you, man!" Completely owned me.
That was awesome.
Oh, there was one thing that you might have heard it on the podcast. There was one time when him and Tyler were passing notes back to each other, and they weren't talking about it on the air or anything. But Formica said, "Oh, that doesn't taste good." And one of the notes that he like passed to him said penis, and that's why he said that. Formica says, and I would not want to taste that.
I thought I was gonna say your wife's pussy in my mouth or something. Like
No, not that bad. Not that bad. They were like passing these like fucked up notes to each other, like penis and go fuck yourself. And all that. It was so funny.
Does Brian Neal work at the station?
Brian Neal?
Yeah.
Brian Neal is my he's the executive producer of Dayside.
Okay, I don't know what that
He's
is.
also he's the executive producer. He's one of the big bosses at the station.
Okay, because that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, he's not only technically one of my bosses, but he's actually a friend of mine. He's a good dude.
Oh, that's good. All right, let's go.
Yeah, all right, enough.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Sports Pulse. I am Sean McNiff.
I'm Brian Brennan.
And I'm Ethan Winter.
And right now you're listening to Who Shot Ya by Biggie Smalls, a.k.a. Notorious B.I.G.
Christopher Wallace.
With a lot of other nicknames that some of them aren't appropriate for this podcast. But we're opening with this song because Aaron Hernandez, the ex-Patriots tight end, just got convicted of like 4 counts of whatever it was, 1 including murder. So he's going to prison for the rest of his life. Ethan, this is your team.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Well, I knew that they were going to get him on something, whether that was conspiracy or murder, obviously. I knew they were going to get him on something. And I was actually kind of surprised that they were able to get him on murder 1, because I thought they were going to get him on murder 2 just because of all the circumstantial evidence that they used or that they had, and they never had the murder weapon, so they couldn't tell that it was actually the trigger man. But I guess what they said was that they had enough circumstantial evidence that made them believe that he orchestrated the whole thing, because he called up his buddies from Bristol to come up to Boston, and his buddies, they didn't know who Odin Lloyd was. I mean, they might have knew that it was his Hernandez's girlfriend's sister's boyfriend, but other than that, Odin Lloyd, I don't think did anything to any of Hernandez's buddies from Bristol. So it was clear through the circumstantial evidence that Hernandez is behind it. And one of the things that the jury paid close attention to was Robert Kraft's testimony, in which he said that Hernandez told Kraft that he didn't do it, that he didn't kill Odin, and the jury was like, wait a second, if he said that he was at the club, or if he was at the club like he said he was, then how would he have known that Odin had died? And I think that was a big key in the testimony of Robert Kraft, and a key part of the conviction. And also, Hernandez's own defense team acknowledged that he was at the scene of the murder. So
he lied.
About that.
Really?
If you can't even get your own testimony straight, then what else did you lie about? So, and I think they got the right call on the conviction, and he can go rot in hell for all I
I think that it was interesting. The reason that I was a little surprised that Hernandez ended up getting convicted was the murder weapon and the fact that they never actually found one. It's almost like a reverse OJ in the sense that they didn't ignore that smoking gun.
Quite literally.
Yeah, and with OJ, I mean, it's horrible to compare murders like this, but you remember well, I guess none of us remember because we're all 23. But
Right.
if you've ever actually done research on the OJ trial, the jury ignored a substantial amount of evidence in relating to DNA and weapons and various other things that they couldn't convict him on, or that they could have convicted him on. And with this case, the jury, they didn't have really any substantial evidence to convict. I mean, they had those damning testimonies, Robert Kraft's testimony in particular, but they didn't have that murder weapon or any DNA evidence that linked Aaron Hernandez to the scene of the crime. So there was basically going. I feel like the jury was almost going off of opinion in this point. Like, did you think he did it?
Well, there actually was evidence that tied him to the scene of the crime.
Right, the joint, right?
The joint, and also I don't know how this got on there, but there was a piece of gum that Hernandez was chewing.
Oh
that
yeah,
was on a bullet casing at the scene of the crime.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, and
amazing
also they did have a video, the surveillance video of him walking back into his house carrying what you can guess to be a Glock. I mean, it was a little bit blurry, but you could make a very good guess or conclusion that what he was carrying was a Glock.
And didn't they? I was trying to think. Well, what I was going to say, I can't remember. Oh yeah, didn't they have the text messages of him telling people that like you can't trust some people these days and things like that?
Right. And actually, I thought it was interesting. Before we get to you, Sean, sorry, but for the longest time, it seemed like the judge was on the Hernandez defense team because she was throwing out all these things that you would think would be important to this trial, like text messages.
Right.
She was saying that, you can't use these when they're as evidence. And then she kind of reversed it a little bit on the text messages towards the end. But that was really interesting with the judge. Sean, your opinion before we move on?
Yeah, I was just flashing 5 because of 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
But it was just obvious that he was guilty of something from the start. I didn't pay any attention to the trial. I didn't really care. I knew he was going to get thrown in jail for however long. But it was so obvious he was guilty of something within the murder case.
Right. And they got him on gun charges too. And
they convicted him of all 6, right?
And he also has the double murder charge and the drive-by shooting that he has to go through.
If you had watched...
Oh, he has another trial to go through?
Yeah, he's got more.
Wow, he's not going to see the daylight again.
No, and you know what's funny?
Wow.
Well, I don't know if it's funny. There's not really anything funny in regards to this case. But you know what's ironic is that apparently the jail that they're going to put Hernandez in for the rest of his life is like half a mile away from Gillette Stadium.
It's like 3.4 miles from Gillette.
Yeah, it's it's right down the road. So technically, like, all he has to do is look out his window and he'll be reminded of what might have been.
See, that may be even worse.
That's like torture right there.
That is torture. That's cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah. I mean, but it's his own damn fault for throwing all that away.
Yeah.
That's true.
The world at his fingertips.
Dude was pretty much he's a psychopath, and he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, speaking of not throwing things away, Jordan Spieth, the 21-year-old prodigy out of somewhere in Texas.
Dallas. He's a Dallas boy.
He's Dallas? Okay, well, Dallas, Texas. He won the Masters. He crushed the Masters, actually. Crushed every veteran in the game. He won his final score was under 18. he
If he
did
had made
reach
that, if he had made that last putt, it would have been under 19, which would have given him the record outright.
Yeah, he did reach under 19, but he bogeyed on the 18th hole.
Yeah.
Just I guess because nerves got to him a little bit, which is literally the first time all weekend that the nerves got to him was on his second to last putt. But
Yeah.
he did break that record, minus 19, first person to ever reach under 19 in the Masters. He tied the record at minus 18, set by Tiger Woods, I believe.
Yeah. I think it was tied with
Was-
Tiger and a few others.
Yeah, was that Tiger's 97 run? Do you know? Does anybody know?
Yeah, it was
that was
97.
his first. Yeah.
It was? Yeah, okay.
Very similar to Tiger in 1997.
Yeah, very similar.
I think a lot of people, I'm not the first person to say that was very, very similar to Tiger Woods. They were the same age. Tiger Woods was younger by a couple of months, I think. But
Yeah, 5 months or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't that big of a difference. But they still are 21 years old, winning the Masters in dominating record-like fashion. And I think that brought a lot of people, much like Tiger Woods in 1997, brought a lot of people who had, I guess, become disenchanted by golf. I think Jordan Spieth, in the same light, might bring a lot of people who, I guess, weren't as into golf after everything that happened with Tiger Woods, who at the time was definitely the biggest name in the entire sport. So now, Jordan Spieth, with his dominating performance, the fact that he's only 21 years old, winning the Masters in record fashion, I think he's going to bring a lot of people who are disenchanted with the sport of golf back to golf.
Well,
Yeah,
I think the reason why Tiger brought a lot of people back to golf was because Tiger was black and African American, and Augusta is like for the years was white men only, no women, and obviously no people of color, unfortunately. And I think that's what brought a lot of people back to golf was that this black African American and Thai, because his mother's Thai, don't forget that, man who's, by the way, only 20 years old, is just completely dominating the most prestigious golf tournament in the world at the most prestigious golf course. And so I think that's why a lot of people or Tiger drew a lot of people back to golf.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Jordan Spieth is going to have that kind of effect on golf, but I think, he was dominant at the Masters, and it was fantastic to see him just absolutely school everyone in the golf course. And
yeah, it was.
And you know what's great about
Right.
what Jordan Spieth did this weekend was that he not only dominated, but he dominated in a Masters where a lot of other people played excellent.
Right.
I mean, he was not the only person at all to play that good. I mean, he had to fight off a lot of competition. He needed to have that dominating performance to win the Masters this year.
And I think Phil only finished like 5 strokes back.
Phil was
4.
great.
He was 4 strokes back, tied with Justin Rose at minus 14.
Yeah, Justin Rose was really good too.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, this Masters in general, I know Jordan Spieth dominated from day one, which I think a lot of people probably found boring and may have turned it off after Friday or Saturday. But really, when you look at the Masters in general this year, you look at the score, a lot of people played really well, which I think will I don't know if set them up is the right term, but definitely give them a little bit of confidence going into the U.S. Open. And, of course, all eyes will be on Justin Spieth there. But it was definitely a Masters to remember, indeed.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
I never really was a big golf guy, but I watched most of the Masters last weekend, and
Same.
It was a roller coaster. It was great. It was fun to watch. Now we got the HRBC Heritage golf tournament going on, and Spieth just teed off a couple minutes ago. He's went par for the first 2 holes. So it'd be interesting to see if he can continue his hot streak.
And if I'm not mistaken, Tiger Woods is not in this tournament.
No, he said he's not going to be playing for a little while.
Yes.
I think
and
the earliest he said he might play is a month, and is the U.S. Open in a month?
U.S. Open's
2
in
months?
May, I think. Yeah, I think it's towards the end of May. I'll look up the exact dates
Yeah,
on that
okay.
one.
Yeah,
But,
it might be Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, he said he might play in that. He's not sure because he injured his wrist again.
Yes, and speaking
but
of
he's-
that,
go ahead.
you guys saw the post-game interview, or not post-game, post-tournament interview,
Yeah.
where he was talking about U.S. Open's June 18th to the 21st in Washington, by the way, and Washington State, where he was talking about I know, I was excited too.
It would have made sense if it was in Washington, just play on the national golf course.
That'd be cool. But anyway, he was talking about how, because I was watching that whole live where Tiger, you could see he was in a lot of pain after that swing. Now,
he swung and hit a tree root on his second shot of
Yeah.
the 18th or the 10th hole or something like that.
Yeah, and at the time I was thinking, oh man, Tiger's gonna have to. And that's not, golf isn't a sport. It's not like soccer where if you break a hand you can still play. In Tiger's case, you need your hands in the sport of golf. And I thought that he might have to withdraw at that point because he looked like he was in a lot of pain. He kept shaking his hand. And then he goes on that post-game show and he says, I just popped it back in. I'll be fine. And the reporter looked dumbfounded. He was like, so you just popped it back in and everything was okay? And Tiger was like, yeah. Wow. All right.
Yeah, he said he dislocated his wrist or something, and he's like, yeah, just luckily I was able to pop it back in and able to move my wrist again. And I was watching the video recap of it, and Scott Van Pelt was hosting the SportsCenter special or whatever, and it cuts to Scott Van Pelt, and he's like, I'm not a doctor, and neither is Tiger Woods, so I don't know about that self-diagnosis, but he was able to play a good round of golf after that.
I was going to say, I mean, he knew that he did not get a good shot when he hit it, and so I think he was kind of trying to set himself up for an excuse.
Yeah.
But
Tiger is expected to be in the field at the U.S. Open, by the way. I'm looking at the I don't know if Wikipedia is the most accurate source to look for golf information, but I think
after the Masters, he did say he won't be playing for a while, but he will be considering playing for the U.S. Open. So hopefully he does. That'd be fun to watch.
I'd like to see Tiger participate in all the majors this year. I think it's going to be fun to see Tiger back on his game because he was back on his game a little bit at the Masters. It wasn't the dominant Tiger that we had, grown to know and love, but he was excellent in the Masters for everything that was his best major performance by far in a very long time.
So how did Rory do? Because I remember last week we were talking about how Rory was a favorite, but
yeah, he came in third at -12.
Wow.
Yeah, he did very well.
So he did fine.
Yeah, he didn't do very good the first day and a half. I think the first 27 holes he didn't do very well, but the last 2.5 days, he did spectacular and finished -12 in third place.
And also, before we move on, don't forget that Jordan Spieth, he set a Masters record for most birdies.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
28 or 29. It was something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the record was 25 by Phil Mickelson, and then he
shattered
beat
it.
him out. Yeah, he beat him out like midday on Sunday.
That may be a record that never gets broken. That's a very hard feat to accomplish, especially at Augusta National,
right?
Which is like a hellhole golf course.
Yeah, it can be. He also broke the first 36-hole record at -14 and the first 54-hole record at -16, and tied the best 72-hole record at -18. So he's just breaking records left and right, not really caring.
Yeah. It was Spieth, Mickelson, Rose, McIlroy, Matsuyama, Casey, Johnson, Poulter, Hoffman, Johnson, and Mahan. That was the top 10. So a lot of big names.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right.
my picks, I don't know if you guys remember, I picked Phil Mickelson to win it
Right.
over Jordan Spieth. He came in second, unfortunately, but and then Ricky Fowler I picked third. He tied for 12th at -6. He had an alright weekend.
Yeah.
Um,
I do remember we all said, watch out for Jordan Spieth.
yeah.
Because he could come out of nowhere and have a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody thought he was gonna have that good of a.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
No.
yeah, this was out of nowhere.
I was surprised that it was 19 under because usually there've been years where the winner is like 3 over at Augusta.
Yeah, that's what makes the Masters so great is that anything can happen.
Yeah.
All right, so move on now.
On to the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
Which started last night.
They did.
I believe Wednesday night. My Capitals lost to the Islanders. Not really surprising. Capitals, they've been inconsistent all season. Brian, did your Rangers play?
No, they play tonight.
They play tonight? Okay.
Yeah, they play 7 o'clock. I'm pretty excited.
Who do they play?
They're playing Pittsburgh.
Oh, the
Penguins.
8-seeded Penguins snuck into the playoffs.
The 8-seeded Pittsburgh Penguins barely made it to the playoffs this year. But I'm still not 100% confident just because they're the Pittsburgh Penguins. They can put it together at any point in time.
They still have Sid the Kid who can
light
it up.
Yep. And Malkin. And I was watching Barry Melrose this morning
I love
Sports Center. Yeah, who doesn't love Barry Melrose? But I was watching him on Sports Center this morning, and he said that if the Penguins don't make it past the first round this year, there's a chance that they completely blow up their organization and possibly break up the Sidney Crosby-Evgeny Malkin duo.
I would love that.
I would be so
absolutely
happy.
Love
that.
Oh man,
that's insane. To me,
that would be so great to me.
Hopefully they get rid of Sid the Kid. I don't like him being on the Penguins.
Let's get them out of the Rangers division. Let's put them in the West Coast somewhere.
Ethan, did your Bruins didn't make the playoffs, did they?
No, they didn't. They completely choked.
Yeah.
And actually, as a result, they fired Peter Chiarelli already. Also fired Chiarelli's son, I believe, who is on the scout team.
That's awkward.
Not really? Team, but he's one of the scouts. And then we'll see what happens, what they do with Claude. But I think that was necessary. Chiarelli is a horrible cap manager. Did not need to trade Johnny Boychuk at the beginning, right before they started the season.
Didn't need to trade Sagan 2 years ago.
What?
Didn't need to trade Sagan 2 years ago.
Exactly. Really, because of that trade, the Bruins never really figured out who they were, what their identity was, and as a result, it led to inconsistent play. And really, the Bruins got what they deserved by missing the playoffs. But I do have, I have picked the Stanley Cup playoffs, all of the rounds.
All right, you want to start with the Eastern Conference?
So I'll start with the Western Conference. I got a couple of upsets here. I have Minnesota over St. Louis, and I have Chicago over Nashville.
St. Louis, a lot of people are picking to win the whole thing.
Right, but if you remember last week, we mentioned that they've struggled in the playoffs. They've always had an early round exit, even after having a lead in the series.
A lot of the time, yes.
The biggest surprise I have is Winnipeg over Anaheim in the first round. And I have Vancouver over Calgary. Vancouver and Calgary were kind of a coin flip type.
So
that's a toss-up
series. You have the top 2 seeds going down in the first round in the Western
Conference?
Conference?
In the Western Conference. Yeah.
Wow. That's
I don't know why, but a lot of people are definitely picking the Winnipeg-Anaheim upset. Anaheim is a pretty solid team overall. Didn't they? They are the top seed in the West, right?
They are.
I'm surprised a lot of people are picking that upset of Winnipeg. I don't know if the Jets played well against them in the regular season or what the deal is.
Well, I know in hockey especially, those early round upsets happen a lot. Like,
yes.
You
that's
see
why I'm so
seed
nervous going
down
into
in the
Rangers
first round
series.
almost every year.
That's why I'm nervous going into the Rangers series, because they have the bullseye right on their back, and Pittsburgh could sneak up on them.
Yeah, when the LA Kings won a couple years ago, they were the 8th seed.
Yep.
So anything can happen in NHL hockey.
Well, both times the Kings won the Cup, they were the 8th seed.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Yeah. Were they the 8th seed last year?
I think they were.
I remember they came back from the 3-0 deficit against the Sharks, and then they just dominated from there, including the Rangers in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I don't remember if they were an 8th seed or not.
I think they were, or they were like a 7th seed or something. But because of how the seedings are now in the NHL playoffs, it's like 1-4.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out.
And so in the Eastern Conference, I have Montreal over Ottawa in 6 games, and I have Tampa Bay over Detroit in 5, and I have the Rangers over the Penguins in 5, and the Rangers over the
Islanders.
Capitals over the Islanders in 5, and then so in the second round I have Chicago over Minnesota, and Winnipeg over Vancouver. So I have Winnipeg going to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
And I have Montreal over Tampa Bay, and the Rangers over the Capitals. And then I have the Rangers over the Canadiens and Chicago over Winnipeg. And then I have the New York Rangers winning the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1994.
I approve.
Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah. Ryan, you like that pick, don't you?
I approve.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you guys watched any of the games last night, but there were some very good ones last night. I watched the majority of the Blackhawks Predators game, and that was really fun. That was probably the most fun game of the night, and probably the best game of the night. Corey Crawford got replaced after a horrible first period. He was terrible. He wasn't even close to on his game, and I cannot remember the name of the guy that they put in goal to replace him, but he was so good. He came in and instantly gave the Blackhawks new life, and they were able to come back in the game. They scored 3 goals in the second period, and then nobody scored in the third, and then nobody scored in the first overtime, and then finally Duncan Keith scored the game-winning goal last night. In Nashville, nonetheless, in double overtime. So
by the way, the last name of the goalie was Darling. I don't know what
Scott Darling. That's what it was. Scott Darling. He was so good, and he's probably going to get the start in Game 2 if I had to guess. You got to go with the hot hand, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, and he is expected to play in Game 2. One thing that I want to mention was, I didn't watch any of the games last night because I went to bed early because I was exhausted. But PK Subban got a game misconduct for this terrible slash.
Vicious.
And he's not suspended for Game 2, which I think is ridiculous.
That's total BS. I was watching that game, and I missed that slash, but as soon as I saw the replay, I was like, not only is that intentional, but the dude needs to be suspended at least.
Right.
At least for the next game. It's very rare that you don't see somebody get a game misconduct and at least have them suspended for the next game. So I was a little surprised by that.
And not only does it spit in the face of the Ottawa Senators, but it actually puts PK Subban in danger because now he has this giant target on his back, and the Senators are going to be looking for retribution of some kind. And they didn't get it in terms of a suspension, which he should have. So now they have to take care of it in their own hands, and that's another reason why I think fighting should remain in the NHL.
Yeah.
Because it polices the game on the ice.
Couldn't agree more in that case.
Yeah,
Right,
and also everybody loves a good fist fight.
Right, exactly. And so PK Subban now, he's got to be looking over his shoulder every time he touches the puck, or even when he doesn't have the puck. He needs to be looking over his shoulder.
They're going to come after him. They're going to come after him hardcore.
Right, and I mean, as a Bruins fan, I hate PK Subban, but I do think he's a fantastic player. But when you do stuff like that and just dive and do cheap shots, then I have no room for that. And actually, a lot of Bruins fans kind of don't like Marchand anymore because he kind of does the same crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other games from last night, Capitals lost 4-1 to the Brooklyn Islanders. I mean, the New York Islanders. Such bullshit. They're moving into our territory, but go on.
Yeah, Capitals haven't played consistently all season, but neither have the Islanders, so that series is going to be a doozy to say the least. Both teams can play. Yeah, both teams can play.
7, even though I have the Capitals winning in 5.
Yeah, that series is definitely going to go farther than 5.
Yeah, no way.
Unless somebody
could win that series in 6 and then blow up the Nassau Coliseum, that'd be great.
Sure. I'll put a word into my guys.
Yeah, like, hey, let's,
send it down to Ovi.
Let's put some dynamite under those bleachers. I
think that's terrorism, by the way, but go on.
Well, I mean, when nobody's in there, I'm not...
Did you see the
Fuck you.
snap story that the Islanders had?
No, what was it?
It was like the last game in the Coliseum.
I don't follow the Islanders on Snapchat, so...
No, I don't either, but it just showed up in my Snap.
Oh, yeah. As soon as I saw that, I deleted it.
All right, go ahead, Sean.
I've hated the Islanders my whole life. Go on, Sean.
I was just going to say, I have the Rangers coming out of the Eastern Conference and the Blackhawks coming out of the Western Conference. If I had to pick a winner, I'd say the Rangers just because of King Hendrick. The hot goalie pretty much wins every Stanley Cup, at least in the last 10 years since I've seen it.
The reason I'm cautious as a Rangers fan and not saying for sure that they're going to win the Stanley Cup is the fact that President's Trophy winners historically in the playoffs notoriously do not win the Stanley Cup. I don't know what it is, whether it's they've tapped out in the regular season or what the deal is, but that's why I'm a little nervous. And, the fact that the NHL playoffs are much like March Madness in the sense that really anything can happen. And that's why I'm a little cautious as a Rangers fan. I mean, last year, for example, when the Rangers actually made it to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Kings, I was not expecting that at all. It was a total surprise to me. A happy surprise, but a total surprise indeed. And so I was not expecting that at all. And that's why that's why I'm so nervous going into this Pittsburgh series. Because they could look amazing in Game 1. The Rangers could win Game 1 6-0, go lose to Game 2, and then everything's up for grabs once again.
And, Brian, to expand on that point about the President's winners not doing well in the Stanley Cup playoffs,
your team.
I mean, just look at the Bruins last year. They won the President's Trophy and couldn't score against Montreal and lost in 7 games.
We also didn't have to play Carey Price in the conference finals last year. We got lucky in that regard.
Right, but I mean the
road's going to be tough for this year, that's for sure.
Lost in the second round, and then I think the Blackhawks in 2012. No, it's 2013. The Blackhawks, I think, was the last team to win the President's Trophy and win the Stanley Cup.
Well, that was only 2 years ago, so that's not too long ago. But I'm just saying anything can happen. Look at the Kings of the 2 Stanley Cups they've won. They were not the President's Trophy either year. So
not even close.
Anything.
Yeah, they weren't even close.
Yeah, so anything can really happen in the NHL playoffs. We could be talking about the Stanley Cup champion Winnipeg Jets in a couple of months.
or Washington Capitals for that matter.
Not bloody likely.
Yeah, the NHL playoffs, the teams are so close in record-wise. Like your New York Rangers have only lost 5 less games than the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
The Rangers are 53, 22, and 7. Pittsburgh's 47, 27, and 12.
But it's all based off of points.
Yeah, which is severely close in record-wise.
The Rangers have 15 more points than the Penguins do.
Yeah, but something that's playoffs that's not close record-wise is the NBA playoffs, which the
Seamless
Eastern
transition
Conference
right there.
which the Eastern Conference is kind of a joke past the first top 3 or top 2 seeds really. Hawks and Cavaliers are the only real teams that have a shot. The Bulls.
Well, the Bulls do have a chance
to win to win the championship.
Depends on Derrick Rose, but I
mean,
agree.
if Derrick Rose comes back and balls out, then yeah, obviously they do. But that's not likely to happen. He's likely to get injured next week.
Okay, so I just want to say
a breeze of wind is going to knock him over, and he's going to get hurt on his way to the
game. He's going to tear another ACL on the way to practice.
I just want to say this, though, about the NBA playoffs and the Eastern Conference playoffs, for that matter. I would not be surprised if the Celtics win 1 game against Cleveland, and they might even win 2. Do I think they'll win the series? Hell no. But I think the Celtics will win 1 game, maybe 2, and maybe make it a series.
Yeah, I mean, you can't ever really count the Celtics out of any playoffs.
Well, they played well, especially towards the end of the season.
Right, exactly.
Really well, actually.
I retweeted a tweet that I think one of you guys retweeted, but the 2 best teams since like February 2nd or something, the 2 best teams in the NBA record-wise are meeting in the first round of the playoffs, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I retweeted that.
That's awesome.
There was like ridiculously good records in the last month or whatever you said.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, I mean, and the Celtics, they're playing with house money, and I actually think this surprisingly could be one of the most entertaining series in the Eastern Conference, at least.
I think
the Western Conference, I mean, those teams are just better, so those series will be better, especially the 1-8 and then the 2-7 in the West. But in the East, I think that could be the most entertaining series just because of how well both of those teams have played down the stretch.
I think if you were a Celtics fan, the ideal situation would have been to end up with the 8th seed and play the Atlanta Hawks, who are really struggling right now.
Right.
And ever since all that drama in New York last week happened, they have looked horrible. And now they're without one of their best players, Thabo Sefolosha, for the entire postseason because he broke his leg thanks to we don't really know what happened, but according to him, thanks to the NYPD, he now has a broken leg. So, and that's, if you were the Celtics, probably ended up wanting to play the Atlanta Hawks in the first round.
Absolutely.
The Cavaliers is still going to be a fun matchup to watch. Really, any of these series, the only good thing you can say about the Eastern Conference is because the teams are so weak, that could end up leading to maybe better series, like just because they're all so bad.
Yeah,
they just trade wins.
Yeah, I mean,
like, for example, I wouldn't be surprised to see Toronto and Washington go 7 games, just because both of them are pretty weak.
I mean, that series is a toss-up. And going back to what you said, Brian, about the Celtics, the better matchup being the Hawks. There's the Celtics beat I think the Celtics they beat Milwaukee, I think. No, it was Toronto. They beat Toronto on a buzzer beater.
Yes.
And they had a picture, or they showed Danny Ainge sitting underneath the basket, and he was just like frowning, like, you gotta be kidding me. Come on.
Oh, because
Like,
he
it was just
wanted to play
the
the Hawks?
complete opposite reaction you would expect from a team executive. I mean, it was hilarious.
That's so funny. So Danny Ainge wanted to play the Atlanta Hawks.
Well, I think
I think
Danny
all Celtics
Ainge
fan wanted
kind of
to
wanted
play the
to
Atlanta
miss the
Hawks.
playoffs entirely because he was like, there's an article earlier on like a few weeks ago on Grantland, and Danny Ainge and I think Coach Stevens also were like, God damn it, we're too good too fast. Like, we need to miss the playoffs for one more year. I mean, they
And,
didn't
you know,
actually say that, but they were like, maybe we got better too quickly for our own good.
You
Or
know,
something.
I saw that the Celtics have 7 first-round draft picks in the upcoming years, which really bodes well for them. The fact that they're already making the playoffs and they have all these first-round draft picks in the upcoming years, and with Brad Stevens at the helm, it's almost looking like Doc Rivers going to L.A. might have been the best thing to happen. Doc Rivers going to L.A. and Rajon Rondo going to Dallas might have been the best thing that happened to that franchise.
Yeah, it was funny because after that trade, the Celtics got better,
It's weird.
and
It's
the
weird.
Mavericks got worse.
And he is a horrible fit in Dallas. Like, that's just not working out right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely signing elsewhere in the offseason.
Right.
Is he going to be a free agent in the offseason?
Yeah.
Rondo? Yeah.
That's why they
Brian
traded
said.
him, because they knew they weren't going to keep him.
Yeah.
They decided to get some value for him now. Bring him to New York. That's all I have to say.
Are you sure you want that, Brian?
Yes.
Well,
One of the things I've always wanted as a Knicks fan is a dominating point guard.
I'm just saying that because
You guys have both had dominating point guards, so you know what it's like. You have John Wall. You had Rajon Rondo, and you
But
know
now we have
what
Isaiah
a
Thomas,
dominating
Marcus Smart.
point guard can make. You know that a dominating point guard can make a huge difference in a team, and the Knicks have never had that in my time as a Knicks fan, in my lifetime, really, even on the teams that were good in the 90s. So I've always wanted a star point guard to come in
the
and
only
run the
reason
show.
why I say that, Brian, is because Rondo, I think part of the reason why he's a bad fit in Dallas is because of his attitude, and that's what happened towards the end of his time in Boston. There were times where he was called uncoachable by Doc Rivers.
Well, you know who else has a bad attitude? Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
Put them together. Who knows
They
what
won't.
could happen?
It won't make a good attitude. That's
Yeah.
for sure. You put them together.
To me, that would just.
I hate this more. No, I hate this more. I hate Derek Fisher more. No, I hate Derek Fisher more.
Rondo
This could be fun. I like this. All right.
Rondo would be like, "Oh, I'm better, Derek Fisher. I'm better than you. I'm better than you ever were." Which may or may not be true.
It kind of is true. Derek Fisher would probably be like, "Your point is?"
Yeah, the two hottest teams in the Eastern Conference are going at it in the Cavs and Celtics, and two of the coldest teams in the entire league, the Raptors and the Wizards, are going at it also, the 4 and 5 seed. I have the Wizards coming out of that series for the simple fact that I'm a Wizards fan. They, I don't know if you guys watched the Wizards-Pacers game the other day, but the Wizards just could not close it out. The
It was
Pacers
at the
were
top
giving,
of my DVR recording list.
Yeah, it went into double overtime, and the
I'm just
Pacers were
kidding.
trying to give it went into double overtime. The Pacers were trying to give the game away, but I guess our team is too young to just be able to close games out. I don't know.
You should, honestly, if you're a Wizards fan, I'm not saying you should want them to lose, but if they do lose, it's not all bad because Randy Whitman's going to be fired.
Oh, I hope so. Like that's probably our main problem is Randy Whitman doesn't know how to close games out either.
Exactly.
And he's our head
not
coach.
a good coach for a good team, and the Wizards are a good team.
But who else? If we fire Randy Whitman, who is available? That's the question. I don't know.
Oh, there's plenty of good names available. What about Brian Shaw? Brian Shaw's out of Denver. Yeah, there's a lot of former players you could go with. Mark Jackson's still on the board.
Oh, that's right. I would love Mark Jackson.
I wanted Mark Jackson to coach the Knicks. And I think Mark Jackson could take John Wall from very good point guard to best point guard in the league.
If we got Mark Jackson and we did good next season, there's no way Kevin Durant is not coming to Washington. So that.
Speaking of coaches
that'll
be available, Scott Brooks in Oklahoma City is definitely getting the can.
Is Derek
He's
Fisher
done so
going to
well
be
there.
fired too?
What'd you say?
Is Derek Fisher going to be fired?
Oh no way. They'll give him another year.
Okay. Well, also talking about just coaches in general, or talking about bad coaches. Let's talk about some good coaches, and possible.
I don't know what that is. I've never had a good coach.
And possible coaches of the year candidates. I mean,
Coach
we all
Bud.
know Steve Kerr will probably win Coach of the Year.
Coach Bud or Steve Kerr is probably going to win, I would think.
But I think a dark horse is Brad Stevens, because no one expected the Celtics to make the playoffs.
Yeah, he's done great this season.
And here they are, just 2 games under 500, 7th seed in the East. Granted, the East is terrible, but still, I mean, that he took a huge step with that organization. Just his second year as a coach in the NBA. He is probably one of the best coaches in the NBA right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the real favorite, and like you said, Steve Kerr has a pretty good chance, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Coach Bud in Atlanta ended up winning that award, because nobody expected the Hawks to be the number 1 seed in the East.
Right.
I think most people expected the Hawks to be a playoff team just because of how terrible the East is.
Right.
But I don't think anybody expected them to be as good as they were. In January and February, the Hawks were pretty much playing as good as any team's ever played in
Yeah, they
NBA
won like
history.
18 games in a row, I think.
Yeah, they were dominating. Their entire starting 5 was named Player of the Month for the month of January.
Yeah.
And even though they didn't have a very good end to the season and there was a lot of off-the-field drama, I would still say that, not off the field, off the court drama, I would still say that he and Steve Kerr have to be the leaders in the clubhouse. I kind of hate Steve Kerr because he didn't take the Knicks job and he took the better job, but I will admit he did take the better job in that case.
Of course. The
And what
Knicks
about
job was
Pop,
a terrible
too?
job to take.
What about Pop?
Pop's always going to be
Forget
in there.
Pop.
I mean, Pop is the Belichick of the NBA.
Yeah. He really is.
I know that last night really sucked for the Spurs. I mean, last night was as bad. Last night really sucked for the Spurs. They went from number 2 in the Western Conference Finals to the number 6 seed and they have basically the hardest route to the NBA Finals by far. It's not even close.
Right. I mean, I have the bracket right here, and I have the Spurs beating the Clippers. But then if they beat the Clippers and Memphis beats the if Houston beats the Mavericks, which I think they will, then the Spurs will have to play Golden State, and I think that's where the Spurs run ends. Now you have the Warriors winning the NBA title over the Cavaliers, and I just think the Cavaliers will just fall apart at the end because of the issues between Kevin Love and LeBron James, and David Blatt is not a very good coach. I mean, he's not even really the coach of that team. It's LeBron. So
it's pretty much LeBron's team.
Right.
Yeah, well, if the Clippers lose in the first round, you got to think they're gonna restructure most of their team, don't you?
The Clippers?
Yeah, the Clippers. They haven't done
think
anything.
so.
They
I
have
think
so many
they've had
superstars, and
one
they
more
haven't done
year.
anything in the playoffs.
Superstars. They only have two really amazing players, and then
Chris
the rest
Paul
is a
and
solid team.
and
Yeah.
Blake Griffin.
All right, but you still got to think they're gonna change something drastically.
I mean,
Whether it's
they'll
changing
change
coaches
coach?
or
You think they'll fire
maybe
Doc Rivers?
maybe they'll part ways mutually. But I don't. Since Doc left Boston, I don't think he's really had the motivation to become a great coach and win another championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NBA as a whole is definitely a players' league. Like, the players make the coaches. Except in this instance in Boston, I think Brad Stevens made the Celtics into what they are because he has
Yeah.
such a young team, doesn't have any superstars on that team. As the time just went up, but 31 or 29 of the 30 teams in the NBA, it's a players' league.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Spurs are the same way as the Celtics, where Pop just is the head of the team, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Even with all their veterans.
On a much grander scale, almost.
Right.
Yeah. Moving on to MLB. Games are in full swing.
Yep.
Which is great. Weather's starting to get warm.
It's baseball weather, baby.
Yeah, it's 66 right now.
Yeah, you gotta love baseball weather. My Orioles, they've been doing all right. They're one game above 500, I believe.
Yep.
They just won the series against Brian's Yankees.
Yep.
Which, the Yankees aren't very good, so it's not
The Yankees are
nothing
the
to
only
complain
team
about.
in the AL East with a sub-500 record.
Seriously?
Yeah, they're like 3-6
Awesome.
or
That's
something.
Yeah, the Red Sox at 6-3, then the Orioles, Blue Jays, and Rays at 5-4, and then you have the Yankees at 3-6.
That's just great. That's wonderful.
It's still early though.
Yeah, but all the Yankees are really old and they're going to tire out throughout the season, so the Yankees have nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Hey, at least A-Rod isn't a huge distraction, and all the Yankees fans don't hate him. So
Yeah, good.
He's actually doing well for
you got that going for you.
He's pretty much the only, basically.
Can I just say how much I love the Orioles Hardo, who refused to watch his A-Rods at bats?
You said you love it?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I think A-Rod personally should go. Apparently, this guy is a school. He's on the board at some school, but I think A-Rod should go to that school board meeting and have his back turned to him and see how he likes it. I think that would be awesome.
He wouldn't be allowed in, but yeah, that'd be funny to watch.
Why wouldn't A-Rod be allowed in?
A funny story to tell.
Yeah.
Huh?
But okay, so the Red Sox, they just finished their series with the Nationals. They took 2 out of 3. Kind of lucky actually in Game 2 because the Nationals were booting the ball all over the place. Their defense, the Nationals' defense, is terrible to start the year.
The whole Nationals
Ian Desmond has like 6 errors through 9 games. That's atrocious. But I thought the Nationals would play better getting out of the gate. Strasburg got lit up for the Red Sox as well as Jordan Zimmerman. He didn't even last 3 innings, I don't think.
Who, Zimmerman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Nationals as a team right now are really banged up. I think their top 3 hitters are all out right now. I know Denard Span and what's his name, Anthony Rendon are both out. So, injuries you can never really use. I know all managers love to say you can't use injuries as an excuse, but I think once they get those players back, the Nationals are really going to end up hitting their stride and being a better team than what they've appeared so far in the first 2 weeks of the regular season.
Yeah,
I remember watching the series, and I remember seeing guys that I had no clue who they were on the Nationals, like Taylor.
Michael Taylor, yeah.
Yeah, like who is he? He had a home run in yesterday for the
Yeah, he
Nationals,
is.
actually.
They have a lot of, I guess, not superstars playing right now. Like, just not their regular lineups out there right now. So they need to get those guys back before, obviously, before it gets too late. And I think they will. I think those guys, I don't think any of their injuries were serious. I think they were just enough to knock them out for the first week or two of the season. So I think the Nationals will end up hitting their stride. I think you really tend to overreact a lot in these first 2 weeks, no
Right.
matter what team you like. So I think that people or Washington National fans should calm down, take a chill pill, and relax a bit.
I mean, I think really you don't really get a good read on teams until about May and June.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when you figure out who the good teams are and who the pretenders are,
Yeah.
and then who really stinks.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's really hard to get a gauge on. I mean, we've only played 9 games this season, so it's still really early. One of the highlights of the season, early season, was that 19-inning game between the Red Sox and the Yankees. That was fantastic. All right, it was
it was
frustrating
fantastic to watch.
I mean,
It was
Yeah,
fun.
I only
It was
watched.
fun to watch for me.
I only watched like 6 innings of it because I had to work the next morning.
right.
But the game actually ended like 45 minutes after I woke up for work, or before I woke up for work.
Yeah, I was texting Sean. What will happen first? This game will end, or Brian gets up for work?
It was pretty close, actually. I was not expecting that when I woke up. That's for
It
sure.
was.
I mean,
That
it
was
was just unbelievable. Like, I mean, first off, Wade Miley, who was terrible yesterday, had a great start, 5 1/3 innings, had a perfect game through 5 innings, and then in that 6th inning he started to lose it. But he pitched well, and then the Red Sox bullpen gave it up. Edwin Mujica gave up a bomb to.
Yeah, I was not particularly impressed by the Red Sox bullpen in any way in that game.
Yeah, the Red Sox bullpen is terrible. Although they did get Uehara back.
I am looking at. Sorry to interrupt, but I just got some breaking news onto my phone that Adrian Peterson has been officially reinstated by the National Football League.
Okay.
That long saga is over.
So he can play?
Yes.
Okay,
It means he
cool.
can get traded to the Cowboys.
I really hope that doesn't happen.
Don't we all?
But then the Red Sox, Ortiz just smacks one in like the 13th inning, I think. And you're like, all right, the Red Sox are going to win. And then Stephen Wright, a knuckleball pitcher, just gives up a bomb to Garner, I think. And then the Red Sox score again. And then Alex Teixeira hits a bomb, no doubter. And so you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it
kept going back and forth.
Right, yeah. And then finally, once that double play happened, I've never been so happy for a regular season game to end in my entire life.
Yeah, I was watching. I caught the end of the game, and it was a close game. So I was like, I'll watch the end of this. And then it went into extras. I was like, okay, I can watch another inning or two. And then it kept going into extras and kept going and kept going. And all of a sudden, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh man, I need to go to bed. But I finished watching the game. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't watch any of extra innings, because I would have been so exhausted at work the next day.
Yeah.
Brian,
you only would have gotten 45 minutes of sleep.
You would not have been able to.
I wouldn't have been able to go into work the next day, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully that Red Sox-Yankee series will continue to be great this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think because the Yankees are bad, or will be
They're
bad.
not bad. All right, let's just cop freaking
I mean,
out
the
about
Red
the
Sox
Yankees.
aren't
They're
that
not,
good either.
They're not. The Yankees are not going to be this bad throughout the regular
Okay.
season. Like you can't judge a team based off of the first week of the season, because if you did that, you would think the Kansas City Royals are going to break the all-time wins record after their incredible start. If you judge teams, or the Atlanta Braves, for example, you think the Atlanta Braves are going to be this amazing team. So you can never really judge based off of the first few weeks of the regular season.
No, but it's not just that. Like people in general, I'm not just going off of the hot, quick reactions after the first week of the season. Like we did our predictions, and all of us, except for Sean, he had the Yankees in last. All of us thought that the Yankees would finish in fourth. So
I don't think they're going to be a bad team, though. They're not a bad team.
They're not awful, but I mean they're also not very good.
Yeah, they're not the Diamondbacks, but they're not the Orioles either. So, but you gotta think the Red Sox aren't gonna play as great as they have been for the first 9 games all season.
Right. Yeah, and you don't think the Nationals are going to play this bad all season? There's a lot of It's a lot of what if, really.
But what I was saying is that the Yankees and Red Sox series is going to be great, hopefully.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
We'll see.
I mean, I think the last time that the Red Sox won the first 3 series of the season was 1952, and let me bring up what they ended up that year.
That was also when the schedule was 154 games.
Right. Yeah. So
America was just discovering rock and roll.
Started the season winning their first 3 series of the year. They ended up with a record of 76 and 78. So I mean, that just proves your point, Brian.
Yeah, you can never really. That's all really overreacting at this point. That's why I hate the first few weeks of the baseball season.
Yeah.
Because that's all it is people freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys want to move on to the final word?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
All right, on to the final word. Anybody want to go first? Does it really matter?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah, you go first, Ethan.
All right, Ethan, you want to go first this time?
Yeah. All right, so this past week, or yesterday actually, was the 2-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombings. And last week...
Didn't you rant about this last week?
Well, yeah.
This was your rant last week.
Oh.
Hello?
Wait.
You still there?
Yeah. It was, but I wasn't talking about the actual... I was talking about him. This is more about the marathon.
You gonna talk about Boston Pride and stuff?
What?
You gonna talk about Boston Pride and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
I mean, I was talking about Jokar Tsarnaev, so I'm going to talk about more of the Boston Marathon stuff.
All right, but don't mention his name. I don't know. I just don't want his name to be publicized.
Okay.
But yeah. So on to the final word.
All right.
Ethan, you want to go first?
Yeah. So yesterday was the 2-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombing. Last week I talked about how they sentenced suspect number 2, aka White Hat. But this week I'm talking about more about Boston Pride and Boston Strong. And yesterday they also did a moment of silence at 2:49 p.m., which was when the first bomb went off, honoring the victims of the Boston Marathon victims, and this upcoming Monday is the Boston Marathon, and what the Bombers took away from the Boston Marathon and Patriots Day was its innocence, but now I think the city of Boston has just become that much stronger. Boston was already a kind of a small town and a big city type feel, but I think because everyone kind of knows everyone likes the Red Sox, likes the Patriots, the Celtics and Bruins, and it's just a whole giant community, and the Boston teams always bring that together. And I'm actually thinking about going to the Boston Marathon on Monday for the first time, just to experience what it's like in the city of Boston on Marathon Monday, and I'm really looking forward to that. And when it happened, I was like, I got to go to the marathon now. I just got to go and watch it and cheer on all the runners. And, that's my rant. Right on 2 minutes.
Yeah, it not only brought Boston together as a city, it brought the whole country together, really.
Yeah.
All right, Brian? You want to go up to bat?
Yes. Speaking of going up to bat, my rant this week is about MLB and their ridiculous blackout rules in regards especially to MLB TV. I don't know what is the right term. I don't know how MLB decides their geography for what areas are blacked out. But I live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, approximately 5 hours away from the city of Atlanta, and approximately 5.5, 6 hours away, give or take, from the DMV, the DC metro area, which houses both the Nationals and the Orioles. For whatever reason, the Nationals and the Orioles are blacked out down here, meaning that MLB thinks that I can get these two teams on cable on my local TV channel. I can't. I can't get the Nationals. I can't get the Orioles. And every time the Yankees, for example, the team that I watch, plays the Orioles, I can't watch it. I have no way of watching it. I can watch every other team anytime I want through MLB.TV, but I can't watch the Yankees play the Baltimore Orioles because apparently I get that channel on cable. Well, I don't. I missed Derek Jeter's last game. I missed the majority of Derek Jeter's last game because the Yankees were playing the Orioles last year. I missed the entirety, except for Game 1, which was on ESPN, of this series that was played the past week between the Yankees and the Orioles. So MLB needs to do what the NFL did. They need to re-examine their blackout rules and their blackout policy, and they need to figure out a way to get everybody every game for real this time. And that's my rant.
Yeah, speaking of people who need to reevaluate themselves, Paul Pierce came out with, somebody wrote an article about Paul Pierce. I forget who.
One of the Boston Globe.
Yep, that's who.
Round the horn, what up?
Paul Pierce doesn't need to reevaluate himself because he spoke the truth. Just like his nickname implies.
Yeah, I was going to say, he is the truth.
He is the truth.
Yeah, just like his nickname implies, he spoke the truth. He pretty much threw Darren Williams and Joe Johnson in the dumpster, said they were good players, didn't really want to be great, kind of just mailed it in with the Nets last season. And he said Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett were literally the leaders of the team, which they shouldn't have been. They're 100 years old combined. And he said he kind of sees a parallel with the Wizards this season, which is completely true, because John Wall and Bradley Beal are great players. But he says, as I quote from the article, I keep telling Wall and Beal, you've got to make up your mind. Do you want to be good or do you want to be great? Because if you want to be great, you got to do it every single night, not just when you feel like it. Both of these guys have potential to be great. I love them, but sometimes I'm not sure they realize what it takes, which it draws a perfect parallel to Joe Johnson and Deron Williams in the Nets organization.
Yeah.
But the only difference is John Wall and Bradley Beal are young enough to have their minds shaped into wanting to be great, like Paul Pierce says. And they also have a great future ahead of them, hopefully without Randy Whitman, as I said before, and hopefully with Mark Jackson. And if I can, hopefully with Kevin Durant, not next season, but the season after, when he leaves. If he leaves,
You
whatever
said
it's
when.
called, Oklahoma.
You said when, not if, a few weeks ago, if I remember correctly.
I did. I'm not too sure about it now because the Wizards have still been playing like trash. Hopefully this Paul Pierce article can light some fire under John Wall and Bradley Beal's asses and everybody else for that matter. So they'll make at least a run in the playoffs. And hopefully they'll be good enough that Kevin Durant wants to come here.
Yeah.
For more reasons than it's just his hometown. So.
Yep.
Right.
DC
hopefully,
rising.
Yep. Hopefully the Wizards have a bright future and hopefully they'll be successful. Which is why we're ending this episode with "Success" by Jay-Z featuring Nas off the Jay-Z's American Gangster album. So thank you for joining us, everybody, and have a great day.
Let's go Rangers.
Anyone but the Habs.